Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how you can use Google Sheets for colorful and creative math in grades 3 to 6. I think that this could also be used in grades below that range as well as above that range, but this is what I am most comfortable teaching and most familiar with. So that's why I've chosen to do this presentation for that range today. I think this is a great way to engage students with online learning. They all have Google accounts, and I recognize that not everyone has a computer at home, but for those of you who do have students with access to technology, I think this is something that could really be a good support for them. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do actually is how to change the size of your columns, because I'm going to be doing that throughout this presentation. So the first thing you're going to do is choose the columns that you would like to change the size of. So I'm going to highlight A, and I'm going to press Shift and my right arrow key all the way across to Z. Then any of these letters you can highlight or hover over them until you get that little box in the corner. So I'm going to click on that, and then you have this option, Resize Columns A to Z. So I'm going to pick 30 for the sake of this particular one. If I wanted to choose to make them squares, I would do 20. Okay, and then I would like for column A to be a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to separate that one out. So let's say your students did a questionnaire and they said, what shoe size are you? And they sent it out to people in their class, and the responses got. So now we want to put that into a chart. So what you will do, it will highlight the numerical data, and then you will click Insert Chart. So this is chosen to give us a radar chart, which I don't think any of our students would use. So I'm going to instead go here to a pie chart. So for those of you who are teaching grade 6, it's converted these numbers into a percentage of the total. So here we have our size 9 represents 5.9% of the people who have size 9 shoes. Okay, so that's a good way for students to visualize percentages as a whole. But besides just our grade 6 students and their percentages, we can also change this to a bar chart or a bar graph. I'm going to pick this one here. Okay, so there we go. We've got we can really visualize how many people, and oh my goodness, there's so many more people that have size 7 shoes than people who have size 9 shoes. That's more than twice as many. Okay, so we can do that. There's ways we can customize as well. So if we click on Customize, we can go Chart and Access Title. So let's make a title for this, and we will say Shoe Sizes in Grade, we'll say 4C. Okay, and then you can change your horizontal axis title. Shoe sizes. The one problem is I haven't found a way to specifically title each column, but I'll show you a solution to that in my next part of this presentation. Okay, and then we'll do our vertical axis title, and we can call this number of people. Okay, there we go. Now, if I did this as a pie chart, again, we can go back to our customization. We can give it a title, shoe sizes in, what did I say, 4C. Although if we're doing percentages, we'll do 6C. Okay, so we've got that. We can choose one of these pie sizes. Okay, we really want to focus in on size 9. Why is that so small? Okay, let's focus on that one. We'll pull it out a little bit. Okay, we can really see that percentage there. You can change the style of the chart. You can, okay, we can do all different kinds of things to make it colorful and fun for the kids. You can really make it pop. Okay, so lots of neat little ways you can adjust this. Now, for the bar graphs, this was a good tool for showing things, but if you want your students to actually make one, there is a way to do that as well. So here I have put my title or my numbers from 10 down to 1 and then 0 alongside the same place where I put my sizes. And I'm just doing 3 to really simplify it. So I have lengthened column row 11 just so that you can read these. And the way that I made these along the side like that was I highlighted them and then I clicked on this text rotation. So they were originally like that, but then you can't see them unless you widen the columns, and we don't really want to start messing around with that and making it a little bit inaccurate. So I'm going to highlight them. There's lots of options we can do. We can tilt up, we can tilt down, we can stack, which is kind of fun. We want to make it a little bit bigger so that we can see. We can rotate down, or we can rotate up, which is my favorite. I think that one looks aesthetically the best. Okay, I'm going to make this up, so I'm not going to do the same results that I did on my last one. So now, to figure out your how to make your bars, you are going to say, okay, let's say there were 6 people who had size 5 shoes. So I'm going to count 6 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm highlighting those by pressing Shift and my up key, but you could also click and drag. Now we're going to use this merge tool. You press that and it has made a bar. I'm going to now add a border. I like to have a really thick black border. So the way that you do that is you click on border style and click on the thickest one there, but there's other options too, and I'm going to show you another option later. You can also change the color if you like, but I like the black color, and I'm going to make these yellow. Okay, maybe there were 3 people that have size 6 shoes, so I'm highlighting 3 boxes. That's why we wanted to have the 0 along the same row as our sizes, because otherwise if this was 0, then it would not be one-to-one correspondence. So in order to get to 1, you'd have to highlight 2 boxes. And it just gets really confusing to visualize for the kids and to explain. So I'm going to merge those cells, add a border. It saved my preference for a thick border from last time. Make that guy purple. All right, size 7. Maybe there's 4 people with size 7 shoes. So I'm highlighting 4 boxes, merge, add border, add color. The color is optional, but it is so fun for the students, so I don't see why you wouldn't when it only takes a couple of seconds. And then you can add a title here. So I'm going to merge those cells. I am going to make my text rotate upwards, and I'm going to write in number of people. And it does fill out this space first, but when I press enter, it has taken the setting of rotating upwards. Okay, and then here we go. I'm going to merge these, and I'm going to say shoe size. And I don't need to worry about rotating it upwards because this is going horizontally anyways. Then if you wanted to do a title for your chart, you could do it there. But what I would recommend for students is that they title their chart here. So they would type in the title of their chart. Shoe sizes in grade 4C. Okay, but yes, they could definitely add it here. And then I always get them to put their name in. That's easy for me to find as the teacher. So here's a couple of examples of bar graphs at the different grade levels. This is a grade 3 bar graph for favorite cookie dough flavors. I didn't add titles yet, but the same kind of things that I did before. I have put in that rotating text here so it's easy to visualize, colored and borders. I made colors that kind of matched the flavors as well, so that's fun to do for the kids. And then in grade 3, they're doing first-hand data. So this would be something they've asked their class using a Google form. This could be something they've asked in their family, like phoning distant relatives and such. And then it's one-to-one correspondence. Okay, here is a grade 4 bar graph. So in grade 4, they're doing one to many. And I just went up by 2s, but you could absolutely go up by 5s, 10s, 100s. You know the needs of your class. This is just a quick little example here. And I also did rounding up for this as well. So I did temperature from April 20th to 24th in Calgary. Again, I use that same rotating text tool. And I found when you type in a date, if you click on it, it gives you the date in a month, day, year format, which is part of grade 4 math as well. So you could do that to teach that outcome as well. Maybe not necessarily in a bar graph, but you could have the students type it out and see what it produces in Google Sheets. So as I mentioned, I rounded up. So the temperature on these 2 days was 19. I rounded up to 20. So there's some more math in there as well. Then I'm going to show you my grade 5 bar graphs. So I took the same data, but I also did the low temperature of those days as well, because in grade 5, they're doing secondhand data, they're doing one-to-many correspondence, and they're doing double bar graphs. So here are my double bar graphs. And I went up by 5s this time to show you that you can do different things as well. So I rounded up. Again, 0 is here, so each box represents 5. 5, 10, 15, 20. And so it's important for the students to count, because if we just looked at this, it might look like 25 is what we're saying. But no, here is 0 and here is 0 for the low. So that means that when there's nothing in there, it means 0. When there is something in there, that's 5. So here on April 20th, and again, I've got the month, day, year format, the high and the low. Okay, the 22nd, high 20, low 5. And again, I was doing some rounding here. So I think on these days it was 19, and then one of these days was 4 degrees, and one was 6 degrees, and one was 7 degrees. So they all ended up being 5 degrees because I was rounding to the nearest 5. All right, our next thing that we're going to look at is area and perimeter. So I was playing around with this a little bit earlier. You can do area of irregular shapes and perimeter of irregular shapes. The only thing is you can't merge them all into one cell like how you did here. So when students are just beginning learning area and perimeter, I wouldn't merge the cells so that they can see the little boxes. And if they needed even more enhancement, you could make all borders. So if you gave them a shape, any shape, let's do an orange one here, all borders. Okay, what's the area of this shape? What's the perimeter of this shape? When they're ready for a bit more of a challenge, you can merge the cells. All right, now what's the area of this and the perimeter of this? You could give them a given area or perimeter and say, okay, make 2 different squares or rectangles that have a perimeter of 24. Or give me 2 different squares or rectangles that have an area of 16. So there's lots of different ways you could do this. Again, you can make irregular shapes. So for this one, I just made a couple different rectangles or squares and put them together. Let's do a purple one. Is that the same shade of purple? Yes, it is. Okay. Is that the same? I think. Oh, yeah. Okay. So they can do perimeter and area of irregular shapes. You can do borders, but it's very long and tedious because you have to go to each individual square and you can't really merge the cells all together. You can merge those individual rectangles, but there will be a little line in between them. So if I do this, it's harder to see when there is a dark color. So if you do go this route, I would recommend doing a dark color. But if I were to do it with this light color here, you would see exactly what I mean. Let's see. Okay, well, that one has borders, so I'll get rid of the border. No border. But you can see there's a distinct line there separating those. So if you are doing irregular shapes, probably use a darker color. Now, for a project, you can make some connections to science. Grade 5 if you're doing wetlands, or grade 6 if you're doing forests, you can connect this to science. Otherwise, it's just a fun little activity for the kids. Get them to design a zoo exhibit. So tell them that they need to make a humane enclosure for each animal, which means that they want to have the biggest space possible. You can do some variations on this. You can tell them that you've already got the fencing pre-cut into 36 meters, 36 meter So I would definitely set a limit. I think 20 is reasonable, and I set my size to 20 for the squares as well. These are not centimeters. They might be on some computers, but on most I would say they are not. So you want to refrain from calling them centimeters squared or centimeters. But you could tell the students that you're doing scale. So there's some social studies and geography right there as well. So I just highlighted where I wanted my bottom row to be. And then you can set a border tool here. So I can do top border, and that way just know not to go below that line. Okay, so I would say give them 10 places to put their animals. They can add a picture of their animal, which is what I've done here. So you can do that by clicking on one of these boxes. You go insert image, image in cell, Google image search. So I searched for white-tailed deer. I am going to just search for an owl here. There we go. We'll take that sky, insert. There you go. Okay, and then you can color in the background as well. So because we're in the forest, let's do a green. All right, and then if you wanted to do something else, you could say, okay, well, now you need to have a concession stand for the visitors to the zoo. The other important thing is, because you're having visitors, you want to make sure they have a path and that they have access to see all the animals. So I wouldn't want to make an exhibit right here in the corner where it's blocked off by the one above and beside it, or the one below and beside it. I want to make sure that all of my animals are visible. So there's lots of tasks that the students need to think about when they're designing. Now you can do the area and perimeter part by saying, okay, what is the area and perimeter, or one or the other, of each animal enclosure? You can do your irregular shapes here. What is the area and perimeter of the path where the people are walking? Again, you can get them to have a limit or a restriction on how much fencing they have. Okay, well, we've got to make 10 enclosures, but we only have 150 meters of fencing. Or you could say that you had them pre-cut already. Okay, well, we've got 10 chunks of fencing, but they're all only 20 meters. So how can we make different sizes when we have the same perimeter for all these enclosures? So there's lots of different ways you can have fun with this. All right, the other thing related to this is nets for 3D shapes. So I've already made a couple here. In grade 2, they are doing cubes. So I've shown how they can make a cube net here. In grade 4, they are making rectangular prisms. So here is a rectangular prism net here. And then in grade 5 and 6, they're learning about volume. So here they could make a net, and they could determine the volume by looking at how tall, how wide, and how long their rectangular prism would be, and then multiplying those numbers together. If you have students with printers, it would be really fun if they could print these off at home. Now what I've done here is different border styles to show where the folded lines are, where we would cut it out. So you would click on your piece, go to your border styles, and then you can choose your border to be a dotted line. So border dotted line, and I want the left border to have that dotted line. Okay, it's not taking it right now because this one has the bold border, so it's taking the bold border over the one that I did. Okay, there we go. So now it has made a dotted line where you could show students where to fold if they were to print these out. Again, we can have fun by adding color to this. For your grade 6 students or some grade 5s that need a bit of an extra challenge, you could also tell them to give them a specific volume and say, okay, make me a rectangular prism that will hold 36 unit cubes. So there's lots and lots of ways that you can use this in your math class. Okay, and you can color them and just have fun with it. All right, the next one that we're going to do is fractions, decimals, and percents. So I have made a 10 by 10 square. I'm going to make another one just to show you. So that was my example, and this was inspired by the artwork of Piet Mondrian, who does a lot of art with squares, with parallel lines, with perpendicular lines, and so it is really nice for math. I'm making this 10 by 10 so that we can easily convert into fractions, decimals, and percents. So absolutely you could do this with area and perimeter, but I think because we're doing 10 by 10 and we're making this area 100 units squared, it would also lend itself well to fractions, decimals, and percents. So here we go. We're going to make an art piece. You could get your students to make a realistic, more pixelated kind of art piece. My class this year, we called it Minecraft art when we did this in math. But I'm going to make another abstract piece. So you want to tell your kids probably no more than 3 colors, because white will also count as a color. I did a primary color scheme in my first example. So here I'm going to do a secondary color scheme. So I'll do that one in purple. I'll do this one in orange. I don't like that orange. I'm going to do that orange. There we go. And then this one in green. Okay, and you can do a couple other ones. We're going to start purple again. Okay, and now we can merge them, add a border, and make sure that it is the border I like. Oops. Okay, and so then you can begin asking your students, what fraction represents the part of your painting or your drawing? What fraction represents the green part of your drawing? What fraction represents the purple part of your drawing? For your grade 6 students, you can do the same thing with percents. What percentage of your drawing is yellow? What percentage of your drawing is red? If you wanted to make it harder for them, you could do a 20 by 10 rectangle, so that they have to do some conversion there as well. Now you will see, I mentioned this with one of the other projects, that when you have an irregular shape, you will get those lines between your rectangles and squares. But if you want to try and merge as best you can, so we can see a little line there, but you can still do your best here. There we go. Okay, and then remember, white is the color too, so you can ask your students, what decimal represents the white part of your drawing? What decimal represents the purple part? Okay, so that's what I would do for fractions, decimals, and percents with this type of activity. The last thing I want to show you is transformations. I've gone ahead and made a Cartesian plane here for our grade 6 students just by highlighting and then making a top border. That option there, and then highlighting, leaving a column free for me to write in my coordinates on my my y-axis, and I did a right border there. All right, and then I just typed in those numbers. So you could do plotting for grade 6s, plotting of squares or rectangles. Okay, so our first point is on 5, 16. And then they can color in that square so that they know that's the first point. Okay, then our next point is on 5, 19. So they can find that, plot their point. Our next point is on 8, 16. Oops, I don't think I did that right. There we go, 8, 16. And then our last point is on 8, 19. Okay, and then once they've got their points plotted, they can make their shape. If you are teaching a grade below grade 6, then you would do this just without the Cartesian plane. So from this point on, you could do this activity with students on other grades. So for grade 4, we're doing our points of symmetry. So here we go, our lines of symmetry. So I'm going to highlight where the middle of my line of symmetry will go, or you could use, we're going to use the border tool. So I'm going to highlight here, and I know that the right side of that is the line of symmetry there. Okay, and then I'm going to highlight here, and I know that I'm going to use my bottom border to make another line of symmetry there. Okay, so that is for your grade 4s. For your grade 5s and 6s, when you're doing translations, I'm going to merge this just to make it a solid square here. Okay, you can do copying and pasting. So here we go. I'm going to copy. You can also press Control C for a shortcut. And wherever you paste it, it's going to paste down and right from where you paste. So if I paste here, that square that I had selected is the top left corner. So you could get them to paste somewhere and then tell you where it moved to. Or you could give them a set of instructions. Okay, I want you to move 10 squares to the right and 2 squares down. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. I think I actually need to go one more and paste. Great. So lots of things we can do with this. I haven't figured out how to do rotations yet, but I'm sure that there are many other ways you can use this. This is just the ideas that I've played around with a little bit, the ideas I've discovered. If there are more, I would love to hear about them. So I hope you have fun with this. I hope your students have fun with this as well. You can always let me know if you have opinions and projects. I love to see them, so feel free to send those along to me. Thank you and stay safe, everyone.